When talking about asset pricing, we are talking about how much that we are willing to pay for a particular asset. So then how to think about it? The way we think about it is we think about what we are going to get in the future when holding these assets. If we are going to receive $1,000 in a year for holding these particular assets, then how much we should pay to acquire that $1,000 in a year? The answer is that we need to come up with the present value of all the future cash flows that we are going to get. We add them up, and that will be the price of the asset we are going to pay for. So this is the pricing formula we adopt in general to quantify how much we are going to pay for an asset. We say the price will equal to the present value of future expected cash flows. So then why the price that we are going to pay for an asset equal to the present value of all the future expected cash flows? Well, because the price is the cost that we are going to pay for holding an asset, and the present value is the summing up of all the future benefits. Remember that because when we hold an asset, that the cash flow will come in at different dates. Then we also learn that when adding up the cash or return coming at a different date, when we add it up, the $1 today doesn't equal to the $1 tomorrow. So to add them up, we need to come up with the present value and then add them up. And that's the benefit for holding the assets. So then if the price is greater than the present value of holding the assets, then we say, well, that's way too expensive. I don't want, because the cost for holding it is greater than the benefits that we are going to get. So we say, no, I'm not going to buy it. So then the price should fall. We say, well, okay, no one want to buy it. Then I make the price lower. And then so until when that the falling of the price will stop. If the price is less than the present value, then what happened is that a lot of people say, wow, it's great that the benefit we are going to get for holding this particular asset is much greater than the cost that we are going to pay for it. I want to buy it. Because of that, when everyone wants to buy it, the price should increase. So then here it tells us that when the price is greater than the present value, no one wants to buy it, the price should fall. When the price is less than the present value, everyone wants to buy it, and the price should increase. Therefore, toward the end, the price will stop at the point where it equals the present value. And that is why this is the general formula for coming up with the price for an asset. Now let's begin to think about bond pricing. To begin with, we need to think about what will be the future cash flows for holding a bond. We know that when we want to add up all the future cash flows value, we need to come up with the concept of present value, discounted such that all the cash flow are as if occurred at the same time. Then we add them up. Then that will be the total benefit for holding the bonds in today's value. And then that need to be equal the cost for acquiring the bond. So what will be the future returns for bonds? So the return for bonds will be the coupons. In general, it will be paid semi-annually, but in here we assume it to be paid annually, such that the discounting will be easier. The time to maturity that's assumed for this bond, that the time to maturity equal the capital T, and R is the required rate of return that you ask when you invest. So then let's assume that if the face value of the bonds equals 1,000. If the coupon interest rate is 5%, then it tells us that you are going to receive $50 per year. If the time to maturity is 10 years and your required rate of return is 2%, then what will be the price that you are willing to pay to get this bond? So the way we do is that we compute the present value of all the future cash flows when holding these bonds. So let's assume that we hold it until maturity. That is the time that it will return you the principal, which is the face value of the bond. So in here, in each year, we are going to receive a coupon of $50. So in here, we are going to have 50, and then we discount it back to the present value, which is 1 plus R. So in here, it's 1 plus 2%. In here, it is 1 plus 2% square, and in here, it is 1 plus 2% to the power of 10th. So is that all the future payment we are going to get when holding the bonds? The answer is no, because by the time the bond matures, you are also going to get its face value back, or the principal of the bonds. So then that will be another cash flow that comes in that you are going to receive, which is $1,000. So then that is the present value for holding these bonds, and that will be the price that you are willing to pay for the bond. Therefore, the pricing formula for bond in fact equals the summing up of all the coupons, and then you got the present value of the coupons. You discount it based on the required rate of return you asked for, given the time to maturity. Then you know that how many coupons you are going to receive, and then plus the face value of the bond, you discount it back to the power of t, and that will be the present value of all the future cash flows for holding the bonds, and that will be the price for holding a bond. So then the pricing for bond is very straightforward, because you know exactly what you are going to get when you hold the bond. But it is not the case when you hold the stock, because when you hold the stock, even though you know you are going to receive the dividends, but the dividends will vary over time. So it will be more difficult to price a stock. However, conceptually, it is not that difficult, because we know what will be our expected price for holding a stock next period. It's okay that we can expect what will be the dividends we are going to receive next period. And in fact, with these two information, you will be able to price a stock value today. So let's see why that is the case. Let's assume that if we are not going to sell the stock, then we are going to receive the dividends forever. Because once you don't sell it, then you hold the stock, you are not going to get the face value of the stock back. In fact, when we are talking about stock, we seldom talk about the term called face value. But you know, when you buy a stock, you are going to receive dividends. In the first period, you are going to receive the dividends D1. In the second period, you are going to receive the dividends D2. You are going to have your expected value for all the future dividends. So then what we do to come up with the price for holding a particular stock is we just discount all the dividends value back to today, and then we know what will be the total benefit for holding that particular stock, and then the amount that we are going to pay for acquiring the stock, which is the cost, should be equal to that present value. So now let's do that. We have D1. Again, the required rate of return is 2%. So that will be 1 plus 2% plus D2, 1 plus 2% square, and then plus D3, 1 plus 2% to the power of cube, etc. So then what should be the price for the stock at period 1? Well, at period 1, it will be receiving the dividends at period 2, period 3, and period 4. So then what we do is that we discount the dividends we are going to receive next period, that is period 2, back to period 1. And that is how we come up with the price for the stock at period 1. So if you take a look at the formula in here, you will see it's interesting, because the stock price at current time in fact equals to the discounted value of the dividends that we are going to get in the first period, plus the term that is very similar to the price of the stock next period discounted back to today. In other words, if we know the dividends in the first period and the price the first period, which is the next period from today's perspective, we discount it back in 1 year, and then we are going to be able to get the stock price for the current period. In other words, we don't need to forecast the dividends occur in the future. equals O to infinity, as long as we can think about what should be our expected dividends next period, what should be our expected price for the stock next period, and then we will be able to come up with the stock price today, which is the cost that we are willing to pay to acquire this particular stock. So this is the general principle for how to price a stock. So now I'll show you a couple examples, and here's the first one about how to price an asset. And in here we are holding a stock, and somehow we know when we hold this stock we are going to receive a dividends of $11 next period, $12.1 the next period, which is equal to D2. And for all the other times afterward, we are not going to receive dividends. And then what should be the price that we are willing to pay to acquire these particular assets? So the general principle is the amount we are willing to pay will be the benefit that we are going to get. And given that the amount we want to pay is at current time, the benefit that we are expecting to get should be measured at current time as well. Therefore, the total benefit will be the present value of all the future cash flows. In here, that the period 1 it got 11, at period 2 it got 12.1, and from period 3 onward it got 0. And so when we want to get the present value, given that our interest rate is 10%, so we divide it by 1.1 in here. In here we divide it by 1.1 squared, and then in here, even though we need to discount it to the 1.1 to the power of t, but given that it's 0, so at the end it is 0. So then what should be the present value for holding this asset? It turned out to be 10 plus 10, which equals 20. So then the price that we are going to pay, which is the cost for acquiring the asset, will be equal 20, such that the costs need to be equal the benefit. So let's now look at the second example. The second example incorporates the probability in it. It says that an asset pays $100 with probability 50% and $1,000 with probability 50%, and the payment is made next year. So then what should be the price of this asset today? So again, we need to look at the benefit we are expecting to get when holding this asset. In here, given that it will pay $100 with probability 50% or another 50% to pay $1,000, we come up with the expected value of this asset next period, which is 100 multiplied by 50% plus 1000 multiplied by 50%. And that's the value that you are expected to get next year. But then you want to evaluate the benefit of this asset today. And in here, it will be 1 plus the 10%. So then what it ends up to be will be equal 500. So then the amount that you are willing to pay, which is the cost today, will be equal 500.